You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's Chris Merrill in for Mo. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk, and listen anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Pleasure being with you as always, and it's nice being here on the on a weeknight. That's good. Normally you catch me on the weekends, and I love it, and it's a blast. And so I like the idea of being able to come in, hang out with Foosh and Tawala. Love Tawala. Tawala sending me messages this morning. Says, I got you, man. I got you. This is great. You guys are the best. Love it. So here's what happened this morning. First of all, Tawala sent me a message and he said, I don't like what you're doing. I've already set the show up. Don't touch it. And I said, okay, you got it. I appreciate that. You just come straight with me right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So then I see, I'm taking a look. This is this morning. Okay. So it's live updates on the Trump transition, and it talks about Trump's selections. Now, when we were putting the show together this morning, or starting to put it together, pulling some stories, it looked like the weirdest thing Trump had done was that he took a Fox News host and made them the Secretary of Defense. And granted, he's a veteran, and he's a decorated veteran, and he's, well opinionated or whatever. But you thought, oh, here we go. This is the Trump administration. This is what we remember. It is a fire hose of chaos. But the thing about a fire hose is you can't shut it off. So as we were thinking about this, thinking through the stories today, Pete Hegseth is now, proposed to be the defense secretary. Again, we're talking about a Fox News host who, to my knowledge, doesn't have any experience running any departments of any defenses. Again, veteran, decorated, had worked his way up in the ranks there. Don't know if that translates into being the Secretary of Defense in the same way that, and I love sports analogies, and I was asking Foosh about sports analogies, and he made some really great recommendations to me earlier. And I said, Foosh, I need an athlete who was a great athlete, but couldn't transition into being a general manager or a coach. And Foosh just started firing him off. He says, well, there's Isaiah Thomas from the Detroit Pistons, who was not a very good basketball coach. And I went, yeah, that's a deep cut there. And he said, well, you got John Elway. John Elway was an amazing quarterback, and as a general manager, he was kind of okay. I mean, they did bring a Super Bowl to Denver. They had Peyton Manning in a Super Bowl, so that's... I said, yeah, Elway's a good one. And he said, I got the best one. I said, what is it, Foosh? And Foosh said, do you remember when Wayne Gretzky became the coach of the Arizona Coyotes, the Phoenix Coyotes, or whatever they were at the time? And I went, that's it. That's the one. Here you had the greatest hockey player of all time, but they put him in charge, and he was terrible. He was just terrible. He didn't know how to translate what he could do into strategies for the rest of the team. He was just not a great head coach. He was just there. Now, you may say the team wasn't good. There was no ownership. There was all kinds of a mess with that situation. But kudos to Foosh, who's a massive sports fan, for being able to come up with so many great examples right off the top of his head. I really appreciated that.
Thank you.
So when we talk about Pete Hegseth being, a military guy, a veteran, and pretty well decorated, does that mean he can translate into being a defense secretary? Not sure. But again, as I said, it's Trump. So Trump is a fire hose of chaos, and a fire hose can't be shut off. So this morning we were thinking about, we just named somebody from Fox to a cabinet position. Can it get any crazier? And then we got today's news, and that was the Attorney General. This is, look, it's gallows humor at this point. I'm just laughing on my way to the rope. It is just something else.
This week, Trump has quickly been building his team, and this afternoon, in a surprise move, announced he's nominating Florida Representative Matt Gaetz as Attorney General.
Outstanding. Oh, my gosh. We just nominated Beavis to be the Attorney General. A guy who I'm pretty sure has intimate knowledge with the Department of Justice.
Which means Gaetz would head the same executive department that spent years investigating the Florida congressman.
Yep, that's it.
Gaetz is still under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for sexual misconduct, allegations the congressman has repeatedly denied.
Yep, that's the one. Outstanding. Oh, I can't wait to put Marjorie Taylor Greene in charge of Israeli relations. That is going to be, what's that? Oh, it's I Heart Huckabee is now going to be in charge of that. All right. I Heart Huckabee will head up peace in the Middle East. Not Marjorie Taylor Greene? I thought she would know all the ins and outs of that. She's got the ins on who's got the space lasers.
In another move that could get some pushback, former Representative and former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard has been selected as the Director of National Intelligence.
See, that's like a moderate pick. I don't hate that.
The Capitol, Senate Republicans elected a new majority leader, South Dakota Senator John Thune, who will take over the role held by Mitch McConnell for the last 17 years.
It's a new day in the United States Senate, and it's a new day in America.
Senator Thune already asked about confirming President-elect Trump's picks.
We will make sure that the president and his team have the tools and the support that they need to enforce border security laws and to remove the violent criminals who are wreaking havoc in every one of our states.
Unless we've already added them to the cabinet, and then we're going to have to wait a little bit.
Democrats still reeling from last week's sweeping loss, trying to define their role as the minority in the Senate and House as the Trump administration takes form.
Recalibrating and re-energizing our party in the coming weeks is the most important thing we can do as elected leaders.
Oh, that's it. There you go. Recalibrate. Hold on. What is the most important thing elected leaders can do? Oh, this drives me crazy.
Recalibrating and re-energizing our party in the coming weeks is the most important thing we can do as elected leaders.
All right. Remember that quote. All right. Remember that quote. Because there's going to come a time that we're going to say, why didn't you stop this? And the reason that it wasn't stopped is because they were busy doing the most important thing.
Recalibrating and re-energizing our party in the coming weeks is the most important thing we can do as elected leaders.
There you go. There you go. All right. What is, let me see. What else do we got here? Oh, you want to, let me see, reaction. Matt Gaetz being named. I got Republican reaction on this. Hold on. Where is it? No, I swear I've got it. What, do you think I don't prep? I do. Well, I tried, and then Twala told me, don't touch it. You'll screw it up. Here it is. This is House Republicans on their colleague getting the nod for Attorney General.
When it comes to the selection of Representative Gaetz, I just think it's silly. I believe that the president is probably rewarding him for being such a loyal soldier to the president. But the president is smart enough and his team is smart enough to know that Mr. Gaetz will never get confirmed by the Senate whatsoever. And so this is just going to be a very long period of time for him that he's going to get excoriated by members of the Senate on both sides of the aisle because he's never been a team player and he's never helped out this conference.
Probe was dropped, but ultimately Matt Gaetz being picked by President Trump, I think, is a strong statement that the weaponization of government, and the Biden administration using government against their political enemies is coming to an end.
All right, so you're getting different perspectives here.
That party's over, and we're going to clean up the mess over at the Department of Justice, and Matt Gaetz surely is going to be focused on making sure that agencies like the Department of Justice work for the American people, not against their political opponents, and that had been going on for too long.
Yeah, okay. Just again, let's remember this one too. The new Department of Justice is going to they're going to stop just chasing after political opponents. This is from the same person who said we have to flush out the enemy within. Just get ready. I can't wait.
We have a lot of talented members in the House, and we've asked the president this morning. We met with President Trump and said, please, no more House members after Matt Gaetz,
because otherwise we'll lose the majority.
But Elise Stefanik going to the UN is a great pick. That's going to be a really important move for our position in the world to be.
All right, I'm bored with all that. So there you go. There's your update on what's going on in D.C. Meanwhile, the concern is over some of what you just heard there. The concern is when we're trying to quote unquote enforce the President-elect Trump's border policies. What does that mean to people who are actually going to be offended? I'm not talking about Milton in Ohio. I'm talking about people who are here in the border states. It could get nasty. That is next. I'm Chris Merrill in for Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on your iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Chris Merrill in for Mo Kelly. Listen anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Pleasure being with you this evening. Watching what's going on as a number of very blue states are scrambling ahead of the Trump administration. And one of the big concerns that people have, especially in California, the bluest of the border states, is what's going to happen when it comes to his mass deportation plans. And I think that's fair. What's going to happen to people who want to enter at ports of entry, for instance, and want asylum for legitimate reasons? What's going to happen there? One of the biggest problems that I think that we've faced here in the last, 4 years is the use of the phrase open borders. And I know for many of you, you think that the border is wide open. But the truth is, the border is not wide open. Now, there may be more avenues to getting into the United States. There may be this the asylum claims and the process for claiming asylum and then being released into the United States may be different than in the past. But there is no open border. If there were an open border, there would be no need to pay for a border patrol, right? But the truth is, it's not an open border. So what's happened here is we've had the politicians that keep beating a phrase into your head, open border policy, open border policy, open border policy. And they go, I don't like Biden's open border policy. Well, our open border policy is a little bit like the boss's open door policy. My door is always open. You've probably heard that before. My door is always open. Unless it isn't. And usually the boss that says my door is always open is the boss that you don't want to go talk to unless you really have to, right? So is it really open? No. Now, I bring this up not because I want to argue or litigate the last 4 years of border policy. Don't care. It's behind us. Doesn't matter. I'm not even trying to litigate the next 4 years of border policy. Don't care. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. And neither one of us is going to change Trump's mind, right? Okay. I bring this up because I want you to notice what happens when we start using these phrases consistently and when they start being used in media. So New York Post has a headline. Illegal migrants rush to cross border before Trump takes office and institutes crackdown. That's the headline from the New York Post, right? What does that mean? Dozens of illegal border crossers, mostly Central and South American migrants, along with 2 others from Africa, showed up in the U.S. soaked after wading through the Rio Grande River. Now, if we had an open border policy, would they need to wade through the Rio Grande or try to get past the barbed wire that the Texas governor has laid out in there? Probably not. It says there were also more than a dozen unaccompanied children, including 2 toddler siblings, whom agents wrapped together in a Mylar blanket to keep them warm. Okay. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is, once again, we are being led to believe, I'm going to call it an inverse funnel, that you've got, in fact, the very first sentence the New York Post publishes is, a large group of more than 100 migrants scrambled across the border as dawn broke on Eagle Pass, Texas, just hours after former President Trump won the election. And it vowed to secure the borders and crack down on illegal immigration. All right, that's your first. So what we've got here is you've got a headline that makes you believe that there is, I'm going to use another term that the politicians have blown up, an invasion happening. And yet what it is 100 people. 100 people trying to get across the border is not any different than any other weekday morning in Eagle Pass. I mean, there's a reason that they put the barbed wire out in Eagle Pass, Texas. There's a reason that when the candidate, Trump, went to Texas to tour the border, he went to Eagle Pass and made for the best backdrop. 100 people trying to cross an Eagle Pass is not unusual. So what they did is they took something that was not unusual. They took 100 people and then they blew it up to make it sound like we have tens of thousands trying to rush across the border. Illegal migrants rush to cross border before Trump takes office and institutes crackdown. It's a misleading headline. It's not wrong because there were people trying to cross the border illegally. before Trump takes office, because it's not January yet, there will be hundreds more that try to cross the border between now and January. There will be thousands more. There will be tens of thousands more trying to cross the border between now and the end of January, just like there were last year. So just be careful, critical thinking when we start reading some of these things. As for California, the bluest state, what are we doing? Because California is very concerned that Trump is going to do something horrible. Well, in our state, we've got a governor who says, we're not going to take it.
On the steps of San Bernardino.
This from
Bernardino City Hall. Community activists hold signs with messages like migration is natural. Welcome people with dignity.
We have the knowledge and the experience to know how to defend our communities and how to defend each other.
These immigrant justice groups feel like they have to defend themselves.
We don't know what's coming our way.
Against President-elect Donald Trump.
I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
Trump believes undocumented immigrants take jobs away from U.S. citizens and make the country more dangerous.
Man, oh man. Woo, boy. I'm telling you, we start seeing this stuff go on. If we start using, say, the military to round people up, and I know some of you think this is great. You just wait. You just wait. You think they're going to go into the slaughterhouses and start rounding people up? They're going to go out into the fields and start rounding people up? They're going to go to the construction sites and start rounding people up? Watch what happens to the cost of things. Just keep an eye on it. Because one of two things is going to happen. Either we're going to see an increase in inflation again, because the cost of products is going to go way up because you've got employers that are suddenly not able to screw over employees who would rather get screwed over in America than have to go back to where they came from. Or you're not going to have the enforcement that he promised. There really is no in-between on this.
According to the American Immigration Council, there are 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. Deporting 1 million people per year could take 1,000 new courtrooms to process and cost taxpayers an estimated $88 billion.
But there was no price that was too much to pay, is what he said on the campaign trail. I got a feeling there's going to be some hardline immigration people that are going to be very disappointed. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. But no price, there's no price that's too high, feels like not a great thing. Yep, we'll find out. Meanwhile, in California, you took to the polls and you said, you know what we like? We like slavery. That is next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Good evening. I'm Chris Merrill from Mo Kelly. Pleasure being with you. Remember, you can listen to anytime on demand, the iHeartRadio app. So, we took to the polls and we had a chance. We were asked on the ballot. You probably saw it. And it said, do you want to allow slavery in California? And we overwhelmingly said, that sounds great. Now, one of the tricky things about ballot proposals, and I don't know that this was confusing or not, but sometimes ballot proposals can be confusing because ballot proposals are generally worded in a way that to bring about change means a yes vote. However, that means you would have to vote, if you're voting for a ban, you would have to vote yes on no ban, right? If you vote no, that keeps things the way they are, which you would be voting no on a ban, which feels like a double negative. Is that weird? That's how they go. So Prop 6 was like this. This was the anti-slavery measure. So Prop 6 fails. People voted no, meaning I don't want things to change. But if you were to ask, do you want slavery allowed in California? Most people would say no, right? So that's where it can be a little bit confusing. Now, I'm not saying that is the case here, right? I think what happens is Prop 6, if you're unfamiliar, this is the one that allows for the prison system to put prisoners to work for peanuts. I mean, less than 74 cents an hour? No, literally nuts. They're packaging nuts. They're doing dishes, making license plates, sanitizer. I didn't know that was a prison job. And furniture for less than 74 cents an hour. I don't think that the prison system should be making furniture because that is direct competition with the Amish, and that's not cool. So this is set less than 74 cents an hour. Amish make the best furniture. Have you been to an Amish furniture sale? Mark, have you ever seen Amish furniture?
No, they wake up too early for me. I'm not down with that.
The Amish know how to furniture. They know it.
I'm an IKEA guy. At least nice. IKEA has the meatballs.
They do, but the Amish also make some delicious picnic foods.
Yeah, they don't make you assemble your own furniture either, do they?
No, it's good stuff. I'm telling you. They do it. They do it well. So anyway, the idea here is incarcerated people still have to make furniture and license plates and all that kind of stuff for cheap. Now, why would California say this is okay? Maybe because this is a pretty unsympathetic election. Take a look at some of the other stuff. For instance, we voted to lower thresholds for felonies. We are largely we're in a punitive frame of mind. Does that make sense? We're largely saying I'm so frustrated with something, right? And it could be smash and grab stories. It could be people feeling like criminal justice reform has gone too far. We could be upset with Oregon drug laws. And we're going to go, oh, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and I need to gain control. And to gain control, how do I do that? I am going to vote to be more punitive. So we lower the threshold for felonies because we believe that people were going into Apple stores and not stealing the phones worth more than $1,000. They were just stealing like 7 phones worth $600 a piece? Nah. But we wanted to blame someone. And we went, we can blame the politicians and ourselves for voting through the last measure that did raise the threshold. I was doing a story once. I was doing some fill-in work in Dallas at a station there. And so the smash and grabs were in the news again, and I don't know, somebody was talking about California going to hell and how terrible everything is. And of course, we have smash and grabs, and it's been a problem. Not going to lie, smash and grabs are being a problem. But what I was getting from callers was, well, this is because California's made it legal. This is what they say. This is like when people say that there are open borders. There aren't open borders. California has legalized crime. No, they haven't. They raised the threshold for damages in order to qualify for a felony to $1,000. That's what we did. This is what I had to tell people. And they said, right. And what you've done is you've sent a message saying that we're not going to send you to jail if you steal less than $1,000. And so I had to ask the people there in Texas. I said, what is the threshold in Texas? They go, I don't know. Oh, okay. It was $2,000 in Texas. Well, I go, do we have the same smash and grab problems in Texas? And they said, no. I said, so do we not have criminals in Texas? No, we do. Okay. So what is the difference then? Are the criminals in California just smarter than criminals in Texas? Well, there's no answer to that. The truth is, we want to point at something. We don't want to say, that's the problem. Can we just agree that when it comes to crime, there's lots of different problems involved? There are lots of issues. Some of it might have to do with gang mentality. Some of it might have to do with hardships. Might have to do with the cost of living is so high that people are just stealing stuff because it's easier than working for what they have to have in order to survive. There's lots of different reasons people steal things, but I got to tell you, I don't think a lot of these criminals are running around with a calculator to make sure that they don't commit a felony, but just a misdemeanor. I'm pretty sure that I've seen prosecutors that could probably say, you smashed, you grabbed, we're going to count that as the felony part, even if the dollar amount wasn't high enough. You still vandalized goods or something of the sort that were worth over $1,000. If you're breaking display cases, boom, you hit your $1,000. Done. But we said, let's be more punitive. Same thing when it comes to this Prop 6. The Prop 6 is, do we want to have sympathy for criminals who are doing time? The answer is no. That's how people read it. They didn't read it as, is it unjust to punish someone by making them work? And we said, oh, I don't feel like it's unjust at all. In fact, these people, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, right? That's our mentality. And I think we're feeling very punitive this cycle. I do. I just think we're feeling punitive. I think we're feeling like the world is spinning. I think we're feeling like we've had a loss of control. And we don't want, for some reason, for prisoners to make a lot of money when we're struggling to pay our own bills. So, why should they make more than 74 cents making sanitizer? Again, didn't know that was a prison thing. Knew about license plates, but did you know about sanitizer?
I did.
You did?
I knew about sanitizer. I have a friend who was in prison for a long time, and
he did sanitizer.
They did sanitizer. He did. They put together hotel booking packages, like the actual booking packages that you fill out and send out in the mail and all that.
Really?
At one point, Eddie Bauer was getting their car seat, their custom car seats, the leather like shells. They were getting those made. Yeah, they made a lot of stuff in the prison he was at.
So just made in the USA is what it is.
Yeah. And just about 75 cents an hour.
I didn't realize because isn't sanitizer almost napalm? I know it's high alcohol content, right?
Yeah, but it's there are different wings where you have to earn the opportunity to go do that. It's not just like everyone just walking in and getting access to chemicals now.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd almost be worth it at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Toilet wine.
Lots of things made in prison.
Oh, good stuff. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
crazy. And we're just like, nope, that seems very fair. Yeah, I'm telling you, we're feeling punitive. A lot of things going on this cycle that we're not paying real close attention to. We're giving some knee-jerk votes this time around. Speaking of where our votes go, knee-jerk votes, I got to tell you, I'm not buying the whole misogyny thing this time around. Let me explain to you why. Those of you that are feeling like America hates women, I'm not buying that. I'll tell you why that is next. I'm Chris Merrill, in for Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Chris Merrill, in for Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. Ladies, please. Listen, I'm probably going to stir some of you up. You're not going to like to hear this. I don't think that America rejected Kamala Harris because she's a woman. Now, I know what's happening now. In fact, I saw the headline. Did voters reject a female president or just Kamala Harris? And there's a lot of speculation about this being a misogynistic country and how terrible it is. And first of all, I'm not ignorant to the fact that there are certainly some misogynists out there who will say, I will never vote for, well, they're not just misogynists, they're also racists that are, I will never vote for a black woman, I will never vote for a woman, whatever it is, right? Is that, I mean, the number's not zero. We can say that. We can all agree on that, right? Yeah. Right. However, I gotta believe, and I'm not a big fan of identity politics. I don't really care for identity politics, but I do understand some of the identity politics. I understand a woman seeing Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris and saying, I'm going to vote for that. I'm middle of the road, or I don't like either of these candidates. I will vote for her because I'd like to see someone break the glass ceiling. All right? I get that. I totally understand that. That makes sense to me. In fact, I think there were more women that voted for Harris because they wanted to see the glass ceiling shattered than there were men who refused to vote for a woman. And again, let's be honest, there are women out there that will not vote for a woman. I got a buddy who was sending me, he loves to screenshot his text messages with his mother, which is a total betrayal, and probably he needs counseling for this because I'm sure the therapist has something to say about him screenshotting his mother's text messages. But he was texting her and he was talking about Harris, and his mother she's an ardent Trump supporter, which is fine. He was just trying to egg her on. But she said, you can't vote for a woman. They're too emotional. This was his mother. I thought that was bizarre. I thought it was weird, man. So I don't think that the election was swayed because you had a woman running for president. In fact, I would even say that with people generally rejecting the Biden administration or blaming the Biden administration for housing prices being up, grocery prices are up, gas prices are not as high as they were in the past, but we sure would like to see them lower. What's happening is Biden's getting the blame. You've got good jobs reports. You've got inflation coming down. We did not go into a recession. Yeah, we had inflation. Every country in the world had inflation, and ours was better than most. But it doesn't matter. It was a painful time. The pandemic was painful. And we're blaming Biden for it. It's just what it is. And Harris is an extension of that administration. I think anybody coming out of that administration was going to face the same problem. And I think that this was a referendum on the Biden administration, and Harris got wrapped up in that baggage. But I think that the race actually would have been worse for the Democrats had it not been a woman on that ticket. I think that actually helped them this time around. Now, we can't prove it. I'm just speculating here that there were more people that voted for her to break the glass ceiling than there were that voted against her because she's a woman. Now, that said, there is some lunacy floating around well, I've seen it on 2 different news networks now. I saw it on CNN, and then I happened to see this on News Nation. Stop doing this stuff. Stop saying dumb things.
Yeah, and I think that if you're President Joe Biden, there's nothing left to run for. There's nothing left to really do. Pardon your son, then resign and elevate Kamala Harris to the presidency and make one more mark in the history books while you can.
Whoa, what do you mean by that?
Whoa! Of course, there's a delayed reaction because all of the panel is on Zoom because that's normal now. We don't actually have production quality. We just say, everybody use your cell phones.
You think that's going to happen?
First female president.
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if I were Joe Biden, that's exactly what I would do. Again, you have a very short runway left of being relevant and of being able to make your mark in a historic way. Why not do it that way?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. First of all, don't pardon your son because that is going to hang over your legacy. And it's going to make the Democrats look like they are just as bad as everything they've accused Trump of being, right? So that's the first thing. You don't want to be in the do as I say, not as I do game. So don't do that. Second, when it comes to resigning so that Harris can get the title of first female president, what an insult. What an absolute insult that is to her. But it actually sets women back. It sets women back, and imagine if you are the next female who's on the top of a ticket. Not only if you're the female and you win, and you're legitimately the first female president ever elected to office, you would not get that title, right? So all of a sudden you are the second female president. The first female president is basically a footnote at that point as part of a political stunt. And what happens is you have set a standard that reinforces, I'm going to sound like I drive a Subaru with a coexist sticker on it now. You are going to reinforce the notion that we live in a patriarchy that requires a man to help a woman accomplish something. Yeah, I said the patriarchy. God dang it. Oh, I know, I sound a little bit foo-foo. But think about this. What is it that, what is the phrase? The Great White Hope? That's it. It's the Great White Hope, right? This notion that if you are a black man in America, it takes a white man to help you accomplish something. No. And there's a difference between advocacy and stepping in to try, I'll do it for you. No, don't do that. Don't do that. There's one thing about being supportive. There's something else about saying, I'll do it for you so that you can take credit and it'll be because of the help that I gave you. That'll make me a better person. No, all you're doing is you're taking away the agency of the future generations of women. You're taking away the agency and you're saying, well, the only way that a woman can be a president is if a man allows it and a man makes it happen. And you actually weaken the image of future female politicians. It makes it harder for us to have the first female president in the United States. So this notion of Biden should resign and then Harris can be president? I mean, look, if the guy has a stroke, that's one thing, which we all saw him at the debate. It's not beyond the realm of possibility. But to do it intentionally as a stunt, it's un-American, man. It's un-American. All right. Guys, can we stop talking about politics? We just did an hour on that. I don't like it. Are you cool with that?
I'm No, please, let's have more.
We can move on. We're good.
All right, good. Thank you. Got it all out of my system.
We met the quota.
Thank you. That's all I was trying to do. It's just trying to hit the quota is the right way to say it. Let's do that. All right. So I'm Chris Merrill in from Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
There's a lot of misinformation out there, and none of it is allowed here.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio.